Okay, everyone, we will start with the opening puja. Piya, over to you.
Okay. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya macha pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now let us do a short sitting, watching the breath. Remember, the first important thing is check your posture. Spend a few minutes making sure you're sitting in the most comfortable and balanced way. Spend a few minutes checking the way you're sitting, adjusting yourself so that's just right. This will help you sit comfortably and longer. It's all right to adjust, change your posture a bit while meditating, but don't do too much, then you get distracted. So if you start by sitting properly, then you don't have to move very much throughout the rest of the session. Breathe naturally in a relaxed way. Don't force your breath, don't stop your breath. Normal breathing. Do nothing to your breath, only watch the breath. When you watch your breath properly, it will slow down, it will become more peaceful. Then you begin to feel the peace and feel the joy. In the first stage, we count the breaths. Breathe in, breathe out, count 1, smile. In, out, 2, smile. In, out, 3, smile. In, out, 4, smile. In, out, 5, smile. And then go back to 1 again. 1 to 5, 1 to 5. Don't count less than 5, too small. You can count up to 10 if you like, or any number between 5 and 10. Stay with the same number every time. But don't go beyond 10, too big. So if you stop at 10, you count 1 to 10, 1 to 10. If you make any mistakes, it's all right. Just go back to number 1. The counting is just to keep our minds focused on the breath and let go of other thoughts. If you like, you can Start by picturing yourself to be like a large puppet, a marionette, and all your joints are relaxed, feeling very comfortable. And just sit like in a very relaxed way. You can count the breaths. And smile. Smiling helps to ease up your practice. It's easier to practice when you're happy. When you hear any sounds that may distract you, just smile at it, let it go. When you feel any itchy feeling, ticklish feeling, just smile at it, let it go. Even a bit of pain also, discomfort, you can smile at it, let it go. If the pain lingers, then you can adjust yourself a bit. Don't fight the pain, just take it as it comes. If there are thoughts also, just smile at them, let them go. We don't need them right now. Whenever your mind wanders off, bring it back. It is natural that your mind will wander off. It means you are beginning to be more focused. Your meditation is becoming more focused, so you notice any distractions, so just keep bringing the mind back. Every time you do that, you will get better. In, out, 1, in, out, 2, in, out, 3, and so on, up to 5 or up to 10. Some people may not like the counting, or maybe the counting don't seem to work for some people. It happens. If that's the case, then you don't have to use the counting. You can go straight into the second stage, in, out. When your breath has come in, simply note it as in. When your breath has gone out, simply note it as out. In, out, in, out. This is called directing your mind. It's a directed meditation. So you make the effort. Every effort is effort of mindfulness. On your own, you can do even for 5 minutes. That's good. And after a while, you find that naturally you can sit longer. So progress that way. Find a suitable time, suitable place for your practice. And that helps. Keep your mind on the breath. Whenever the mind wanders off, keep bringing it back to the breath. Smile, back to the breath, smile. So stage 1, stage 2, they're called directed practice. You direct your mind. So you got to make that effort of mindfulness. When you do any of these 2 stages well, you begin to notice your breath slowing down, or you feel this space. Breath slowing down. There seems to be a kind of silent space growing in between the in-breath and the out-breath. You cannot force this, it will happen by itself. So this is the 3rd stage. It's called space. The key word is space. So you notice the in, and then there's a space. Smile at it. Smile at the space. Feel the peace. Then out. Space again. In, smile, and so on. The spaces are not always even. Sometimes longer, some parts shorter. Now, some people, they can focus quite well, and you may not feel the body at all. That's good, because you don't feel the body, you won't get tired. So just smile. Feel the peacefulness of the space. If you notice any thoughts coming, just smile at the space. After a while, you will notice that it's so peaceful that you don't feel like saying anything. That is the 4th stage. You may or may not reach this level. Usually you will reach stage 3. It's okay, and slowly over time, you find it's very peaceful. You don't have to say anything. You just feel that space, feel the joy, feel the peace. Now, if you do it really properly, you feel the space and the peace. And you open your eyes, half an hour is gone, or 1 hour is gone even. So the stage 4, last stage, is the silent stage. Watch the breath, watch the space, watch the peace, total silence. Whenever a thought arises, just smile. If you will notice during your review period that you don't have to do anything during the 4th stage, just enjoy the peace. Before we end, we review our practice. Review, that means we spend a short time examining our sitting. How do we feel? Remember the good moments, the joy, the peace. This will help you in your future meditations or whenever you need some inner peace. Which is a good memory, wholesome memory, good karma. Or you can also note certain difficulties that you have and see what you can do about it, some strategy to overcome the distraction or ask questions about it. So this is the review period. And now before we end, you may open your eyes and just sit. This is called just sitting quietly before we come back to this world to study the suttas. Just sitting. We begin our meditation slowly, gently. We end it also slowly, gently. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. Now we go on to our sutta study. Right, today we're going to study two suttas. They are closely connected. In fact, the first sutta is elaborated in the second sutta. So you find that that's how the suttas work. Sometimes they help each other, they explain each other. So the more you understand the nature of the suttas, the more fascinating it becomes, more interesting it becomes. Begin to see how they work together, how they explain each other, like a huge jigsaw puzzle. Okay. The first sutta, both suttas are from SD Sutta Discovery, Volume 14. Right. First sutta is SD 14.11. You can see the title in Pali, Satta Jaṭila Sutta. Satta means 7. Satta is Pali. Sanskrit is Sapta. Now Sapta you get September, for example. Originally September was a 7th month and later became 9th month. Septagon or hepta. So very closely connected, same language family. Satta means 7. Jaṭila are method hair ascetics. Actually, the 7 kinds of holy men later we'll find out. Sutta means discourse, teaching. The discourse in the 7 method hair ascetics. S 3.11. Okay. So now the sutta has another name. It's called the Osajjana Sutta, the discourse on the emergence from solitude. Okay. So the Buddha coming up from his daily solitude, he does it twice a day, right? So this is how it's recorded in the Udana U 6.2. U is Udana. So this is very interesting sutta because we all like to talk about arahats and we claim so and so as an arahat. So you have here a king claiming that, and then the Buddha responds. This is the Buddha's answer to people who like to say, my teacher is an arahat, that person is an arahat, and so on. Right? So let's look at the sutta now. Satta Jaṭila Sutta, the discourse on the 7 matted hair ascetics. At one time, the Blessed One was staying in a mansion of Megara's mother in the eastern park near Savatthi. Well, this is one of those rare big buildings built by Lady Visakha, the chief woman supporter of the Buddha. So she built this 2-story building. We are told that each floor has got 500 cells, 500 little rooms for the monks to stay. This is outside Savatthi on the eastern side. So the Buddha would spend part of his time there and a part of his time in Jetavana. Now, at that time, in the evening, the Blessed One had come out of retreat. Okay, so this is the Osajjana, he has come out of retreat, and was sitting by the outer gateway. So the Buddha is sitting like at the gate there. There's like a portico, we call it. So sitting quietly there for a while. Then Pasenadi, the Raja of Kosala, approached the Blessed One. So the king comes along. Okay. Now I want you to imagine that this is India 2,500 years ago. So it's not a very big place. It's a bit like a Robin Hood kind of situation, forests and then villages, you know. Even the king's palace is not like the palace today, you know. So we're talking about 2,500 years ago. So there's a lot of communication between people. So the king, when he's free, comes to see the Buddha. Having approached the Blessed One, he saluted him and sat down at one side. Then something interesting happens. Now at that time, 7 matted hair ascetics. Okay, this is how the title originated. 7 matted hair ascetics. This matted hair means their hair is all woven together. They don't cut their hair, okay, because it's supposed to be a sign of holiness according to this. It's a non-Buddhist thing, okay. 7 nigrantas or Jain ascetics, 7 naked ascetics, 7 loincloth, single robe ascetics, so they only wear a piece of cloth around their loins, and 7 wanderers of holy people, the most well-known holy people in the Buddha's time, okay, in India, with long grown nails, armpit hair, body hair, each carrying his pole and curry. Now, curry is like a container, like something like a pot, where they keep all their necessities, the holy man's necessities. So they pass by not far from the Blessed One. And then Pasenadi, the Raja of Kosala, rose from his seat and ranged his upper robe over one shoulder, knelt down on his right knee on the ground. There's one knee down, one knee up. And he raised his palms in Anjali, that is the palms together in reverence, the way we often do ourselves, towards the 7 ascetics, 7 matted hair ascetics, 7 nigranta or Jain ascetics, 7 naked ascetics, also Jain, and 7 loincloth ascetic, or they only wear a single piece of cloth over themselves. They're also Jain ascetics, and 7 wanderers. So you have these 5 groups of ascetics passing by. And then, now I want you to imagine the Buddha sitting there in the entrance of the monastery with King Pasenadi, and there's 5 groups of 7 ascetics. They're walking together, passing by. Right, so the king announces himself to the 5 groups of 7 ascetics passing by. He wants to make sure they know that he is paying respect to them. Antes, he says, sirs, I am Pasenadi, the Raja of Kosala. Then not long after those groups of 7 had departed, Pasenadi, the Raja of Kosala, went up to the Blessed One. Having gone up to the Blessed One, saluted him, and then sat down at one side. So here we see him kind of, going near where the 5 groups of 7 ascetics are walking. And then when that's over, he turns to the Buddha. Siddhartha's at one side, Pasenadi, the Raja of Kosala, said this to the Blessed One. So now, probably all the 5 groups of 7 ascetics already have left. So now the Raja Pasenadi speaks to the Buddha. He says, Ante, these 5 groups of 7 ascetics, as they are amongst those in the world who are arahats, or who have reached the path of arahathood. So here we see this king trying to hoodwink the Buddha. He's trying to find out whether the Buddha actually knows what he's thinking. He knows these 5 groups of 7 ascetics are his spies, they're not arahats at all. But he tells the Buddha, he lies to the Buddha and says, oh, you know, these are arahats, you know. So this was at an early time in his life when he was a young king. So his respect for the Buddha is not that complete yet, not that full. So he's still willing and able to lie to the Buddha to claim that, oh, you know, these 5 groups of 7 ascetics are arahats. Of course, the Buddha knows this. The Buddha reads his mind and tells him, all right, I'm not going to say anything. Let's look at the Buddha's reply first. 7. Maharaja, you are a layman who enjoys sensual pleasures, dwelling in a home crowded with children, enjoying the use of kasi sandalwood. Okay, kasi sandalwood, a modern version would be like Paris perfume, okay, perfume from Paris. So Kasi is a famous ancient city in India. They make very good, very fragrant sandalwood used as like perfume. Eh? Wearing garlands, scents, unguents. Unguents are like, you know, makeup and things like that. Accepting gold and silver, use money. So you're a layman, you're enjoying life, all these things, you're so worldly, you know, right? It is difficult for you to know if they are amongst those in the world who are arahats, or who have reached the path of arahathood. Okay, so this is the Buddha's first answer to the king. Basically, he's saying, how can you know? You are not an arahat, right? I mean, if you say the arahats, that means you yourself are an arahat, right? So this is my usual answer to people when they say their teacher is an arahat, or this man is an arahat, that person is an arahat. I say, wow, so you're saying you're an arahat too, right? So it's not right, okay? In fact, you find that those teachers themselves would not make such a claim, because it's quite risky. If you make such a claim and they're wrong, then it is the 4th parajika. You know, when monks make such a claim and the claim is false, they automatically fall from their monk state, their normal monks, if they make this kind of false claim to high attainments. So no well-meaning monk would make such a remark. In fact, what's the purpose of making such a remark, except in the case of the Buddha, to teach? I mean, let's say if you have a teacher and your teacher claims it's an arahat. So what? You are not arahat. Maybe you feel proud and happy, you go around and tell others, oh, you know, my teacher is arahat, and you feel very good about it, but you don't progress. Nothing happens to you. That's not very helpful, right? The important thing is you yourself practice. Doesn't matter what your teacher claims to be. He doesn't need to make all those claims. Right. Now the Buddha continues. Now the Buddha goes into his instructions. He gives 4 points. Okay, so first the king. So the Buddha gives 4 points. Section 8, Maharaja, it is through living together with another that his virtue or sila is to be known. And even that is after a long time, not after a short time. Okay, notice. First way of knowing, so now the Buddha is teaching us, how do we really know people? Or if you see some of those movies, those detective movies, we call it profiling. How do you profile someone? Number one, through living together with another, you know his virtue, sila, okay? Is he good? Does he keep the precepts or not, right? So this is what we know through living together by watching them. But there is a proviso here. Even that is after a long time, not after a short time. And by one who is attentive, not by one inattentive, by the wise, not a dullard. So you got to be really sharp-eyed also. Living with a person, you know this person is morally virtuous or not. Okay, this is the first condition of knowing someone, how to truly know a person. Then the second tip Buddha gives, Maharaja, it is through dealing with another that his honesty, sochaya, his honesty is to be known. Okay, so dealing, that means you work with this person, you have discussion, I mean, you have to do things, some kind of transaction. So dealing with this person, having issues to deal with that, then you begin to see how honest is this person. Even then, it is after a long time and not after a short time. And you must be attentive and you must be wise yourself, right? Now, the third way of profiling someone, truly knowing a person, section 10. Maharaja, it is through adversities in difficult times that another's fortitude or steadfastness, emotional strength, if you like, fortitude, is to be known. Right? In times of trouble, you know the strength of a person. But even then, it's after a long time, not after a short time. And you must be attentive, and you're yourself wise. You are sharp-eyed. That's the third method. Now, the fourth method the Buddha gives is section 11. Maharaja, it is through discussing with another, discussion now, that his wisdom, panya, is to be known. So by talking, discussing with him, you know how wise he is. Even then, after a long time. And you are attentive and you're wise. Okay, so there you are. These are the four ways of knowing someone. So for your own practice, by associating closely with this person, living with this person. So there you are. Let's say if you say my teacher is good, and so how often do you see your teacher? You come only once in a while to listen to the lecture, to the talk, right? And then you go back home. So you don't really know. So we cannot say much, right? Only today I posted a little post on my Facebook, I say if you follow a celebrity teacher, then you will be no better than him. But if you follow the good things that he teach, you'll be better than him. And you will not quarrel with other people. It's a little, what they call, a little tricky there. Because my point is, when we champion a teacher, say, oh, this teacher is great, and it could be anyone, it could be me even. Then someone say, oh, I don't like him, it's like this, it's like that, then you get angry with this person, you start quarreling. So it's not very good that way. What we want is the teaching, that's the important thing, right? So you practice the teaching, then your teacher also gets a good name because you practice and you are friendly and you're peaceful. Right? So that's how we know people. Through living with them, we know their virtue. Through dealing with them, solving problems and so on, you know their honesty. Through adversities, difficulties, we know their fortitude, their strength. And through discussing with them, we know their wisdom. All right, so that's all the Buddha said. Now let's see what happens now. Okay, further down. Now, there is what's called a sort of development, almost an anticlimax now, something new, a development. Okay, let's see. So the king's very happy, all right? Section 12. Wonderful, Bhante, marvelous, Bhante. How well, Bhante, this has been spoken by the Blessed One. Thus, Then he repeats everything, okay? All right, to living with another, we know the person's virtue. Even then, after a long time, and you must be attentive and wise. And then second way is through dealing with another, you know the person's honesty. 3, through adversities, you know another person's fortitude. 4, through discussing, you know the person's wisdom, right? So this king's very happy, say, wow, this is really great. Notice here how the literary style of the suttas. Like this, even study literature, you see this sutta style is very interesting. So the king repeats all these things. Remember, Buddha's time, everyone is listening, so all this repetition helps for them to remember the teaching. Okay. So let's see what happens now. All right. So this king, he's very happy with the Buddha. So we go back now and ask ourselves, why did he ask the Buddha all those funny questions that he made a statement that, you know, these holy men are arahats? Because the commentary tells us this king is a little cunning. See? He wants to know the Buddha's attitude. What would the Buddha say? All right. Maybe the Buddha would agree with him, then the Buddha is foolish. Can you imagine that, right? So he doesn't know what the Buddha is going to say, right? So the Buddha is very wise. The Buddha gives him the teaching. Okay, but these teachings, only the king receives this teaching, this first part. Then we're not. Perhaps the second part also he is addressed to him, but let's look at the second part. It's also possible that the king is no more there, you know. So let's just look at it, okay? Because we're not told. The king didn't say he's leaving, right? So he reveals something this time to the Buddha. Now this is the anticlimax I was talking about. Section 13. These Bhante, these holy men, are my spies and secret agents, coming back after spying out the country. First, information is gathered by them, then I will decide on it. There you are. You see here, studying the sutta is quite amazing. You even have spy stories, espionage, right? So this is one of the rare suttas where you get this spying business going on. The king is doing this. And as I said, historical, social historians of ancient India will love the suttas because you get all this, you know, all this kind of teachings, which will give them an idea. Oh, even Buddha's time, the kings use espionage. You know? So that's why the king. So the commentator tells us that's why the king bows down to this 7 times 7 holy men, because in his mind he's thinking, wow, I better, you know, show my gratitude to my spies. So they're not holy men really, they're spies. Because if I don't, then the spies will think, oh, look at this king. We have left our comfort of our homes, our family, our loved ones, to live outside in the open and keep our hair long and very uncomfortable, not washing ourselves and so on, you know. So if they're not happy, then they will not inform the king what's going on in the country, right? So the king has to show this connection, you know, this respect for them, right? So here you see it's politicking, eh? Right? So, but okay, it doesn't say all this. This is what the commentator tells us. And the Buddha knows this. Then the king says, okay, so they are spies. Now, Bhante, when they have washed off the dust and dirt and are freshly bathed and groomed with their hair and beard trimmed, clad in white garments, they will indulge themselves with the courts of sense pleasures that are provided to them, right? So then, like a spy story, they enjoy the good life. Then after that, they report to the king, right? Okay, I suspect at this point that the king leaves. We're not told, but probably the Buddha is teaching the monks and teaching us today because of the nature of the instruction in the verses, you know. This style is very much the Udana style. You have verses closing the teaching. Section 14. Then the Blessed One, reflecting on the occasion, uttered these verses, right? So this is like, this is a special teaching which the king probably won't be happy to hear anyway, right? Because in a sense, the Buddha is telling the truth, is criticizing the kind of behavior, okay? So I imagine the king probably has gone away, right? Section 15. Not easily known is a man by looks or form, nor should one trust a casual quick glance. For in the guise of one well restrained, the unrestrained wander the world. Here you are, the Buddha's warning. Right? This is Sanyutta verse 399. So the Buddha is saying, you cannot really know a person just by looks. Right? Just a quick look, especially, you know, they look very calm, very restrained. But then, you know, there's so many such people wandering around the world. That is why we have to be careful, you know. That's why there are rules. The Vinaya tells us, okay, this is what monks can do, these are places monks should not go to, and this is how they should act, right? So if you see a monk on the road, outside in the road, don't get excited, because you see that monk alone, let's say on Orchard Road or some shopping complex, outside COVID season it is, then of course, I mean, if you're full of faith, you say, wow, this is a holy man, you know, and then you get all excited. But if you know it's Sutta, you say, oops, what's this man doing here? You wouldn't even say monk. You say, what is this man doing here? He's not supposed to be here. He's a monk, you know. He's all alone, unattended. What is he doing in a shopping area, right? So there you are. So something's wrong here. So the Buddha is teaching us to be careful, to see and read for ourselves what is going on here. Don't simply jump at the uniform and say, oh, robe, okay, means the person is good. The person is not defined by what he wears. Remember the 4 ways to know a person, not just by looking. There is another sutta, you know, by Lakuntaka Bhadia. He was a dwarf, not very good looking. So people look at him, they don't care. But then the moment he speaks, his voice is so beautiful, you know. So he says, wow, people judge by voice, not that they be deluded, right? They think he's a handsome guy, but actually he's just a dwarf, you know, right? So you have this kind of situation where you have to really know the person. Section 16. Like a false earring of clay, like an iron half cent veneered with gold, just a thin layer of gold, iron coin, thin layer of gold. So some move and follow about in disguise, inwardly impure, outwardly beautiful. There you are. See, these are the false people. Can be holy men, can be anyone, right? They pretend to be what they are not. So the Buddha is telling us, don't judge people by looks alone. So the Buddha is using an example of a earring, nice looking but made of clay, or a coin which is iron but covered with just a thin layer of gold, not really valuable. Then the Buddha gives this last part is found only in the Udana, okay? From the Ṭhāna Sutta in the Udana. The Buddha says, one should not strive, one should not be busy all over the place, like the spies, no? One should not be another's man, should not be used by another. One should not live depending on others. One should not make a business or trade of the Dharma. There you are. The Buddha is giving the spirit of the teaching, right? One should not be too busy running here, running there. Then you find you're not really happy, you're not really having time to practice, and so on. So you have to find some peace, have a break. Then you find life worth living. There's meaning, there's purpose. So here, of course, the Buddha is talking to the monks. He's telling the monks, don't be too busy, right? So monks are not supposed to do social work, you know. Now, some monks, because they are famous, because they translate books, or because of their teachings, or their looks, or charisma, we say, they become very popular and get lots of supporters and donors, get a lot of money, and then they set up foundations and start doing social work. They become very busy. But that's not the aim of being a monk. The aim of being a monk is to meditate and get awakened in this life itself. So you must not forget that. One should not be another man's man, okay? Not to be used by others. So don't look at the monk and think that, oh, you know, I want to ask this monk to do this for me, do that for me. A monk not supposed to do that, not supposed to run errands for us. So here, not to be another man's man, here another's man, because you can add another's man, another man's man. So two ways of putting this is to serve this person for the wrong reasons. We're not talking about working for the Dharma here. We're talking about simply following others, like following a guru, you know, just simply blindly following, and we have no mind of our own, and we're not ourselves. We're not really practicing. Then we are wasting our life also. We should not live depending on others. In other words, be self-reliant. Of course, this can be a bit difficult because somehow we have to work as lay people, right? So here again, the Buddha is talking to the monks, is telling the monks, don't be dependent on others. You got to be independent. You get alms, yes, but that's just that moment. You collect alms and then you eat it and then you do your meditation. You don't depend on others by being nice to them, by giving them Buddha pendants and all those blessed thread, things like that, to get support. That's not the way of the Buddha's teaching. No, don't depend on others. Be self-reliant. So we also can follow this to a certain level, in a certain way. We should be self-reliant, in other words. That way you can be truly safe and happy. And the last one is, don't make a business of the Dharma. We should not be selling the Dharma and making a big business out of it, in other words. Buddhism is big business today, all right? In fact, nowadays, oddly, the monks are the richest Buddhists around. Sometimes the monks are so rich they start donating to others. Well, I think that should be encouraged, you know, because they have so much money. They should learn to start donating and even paying taxes. Now, I keep saying that. I hope the authorities will hear this. Because they have so much money. Because they make business out of Buddhism. Now, when do we make a business? We start charging for everything, you see. Of course, when you run a course and you said you have to pay for the course, that is different, okay? That one is you have to pay for the food, the rent, things like that. But then sometimes people will say they can't pay, they may say it's okay, we welcome you still, you know. So we give that kind of allowance. For example, you know, I do all my translation work, then we put all these suttas online. It's available to everyone. Recently, one professor in the Sri Lankan University, there was a video of her. She presented our website to the students, say, okay, these are different websites over the world. And she also pointed out to Sutta Discovery. So the Sutta Discovery is being used by students in the universities, especially by monks in the universities in Sri Lanka. And it's freely available to them. So we can do this because of your support. You give out of faith. Through your support, all these are possible. So we're not selling the suttas. Even sometimes we print books, we give the books free. Okay. However, we do have one, what we call this, like a Dharma promotion thing. We say you can have all we can copy all this translation and all my works into a little thumb drive. So they're paying for the thumb drive, and it's a donation to our work. Okay, so that's different. We're not selling the contents, but it's just that from your donation, we are showing our gratitude. So here we are giving you the Dharma. So this attitude is very important, how we deal with the Dharma. And very often If the monks are sincere and they're really practicing monks, we give them free. I'm very happy to give them the Dharma. And we often get monks asking for suttas, people asking for suttas. I'm so happy to give them sutta. Every time I do that, it's like this merit coin goes sting into my till. So I feel so happy. I say, wow, this is wonderful. We're sharing our suttas. So that's how our attitude towards the Dharma work. We give through faith. So what you give is converted into free Dharma for the world. So there you are. So this is what the teaching says, right? So, so the teaching ends here actually, right? So this is you find it's not complete. The four kinds of, four ways of profiling is not explained. This will explain in the second sutta. Here, basically, the Buddha is dealing with the king's behavior, the king talking about all these spies and so on. So the Buddha is warning the monks, don't get involved with this kind of situation. Now, sadly, when Buddhism left India, I think a lot of people, they miss all these suttas, In fact, they're so caught up with the philosophy and all these profound teachings, they forget the basic teachings of the Buddha. So very often when Buddhism reached China, Korea, Japan, you find the monks are very much involved as cultural ambassadors. For example, from China, especially during the Tang Dynasty, the monks would be cultural ambassadors going to Japan, bringing all kinds of culture, books, and so on. Of course, historically, these are great things, but there are lots of politicking going on at a high level, because these monks are treated like royalty, and they live in the palaces, and they have all this special treatment, attended by beautiful women, and so on and so forth. So you have always this irony in the holy life, in the Buddhist life. These monks who are supposed to be renunciants, they get caught up. Once they get caught up with this kind of situation, they become very worldly. The good thing is there's at least one story of one monk, I can't remember his name, one monk in ancient China, who keeps running away. When he hears the king's messages coming, he quietly goes away, further away to meditate. So this messenger has to go on chasing him, city after city, finally catching up with him and say, okay, the emperor wants you, then he has to go. All right, so it's not easy when Buddhism becomes a state religion. Right? So it's not really a wonderful thing, for Buddhism to be official. Once Buddhism becomes official, you find it become very messy. Look at Sri Lanka. Buddhism is official religion there, and the monks are really destroying Buddhism, and the layman knows it. So the laymen in Sri Lanka, they are working hard, but many of them get together and study the Dhamma by themselves. Right? So these are some of the situations which are very real we have to deal with. Not to be busy all over the place, not to be another's man, not to live dependent on others, and not to make a business of the Dhamma. Okay? And also that is why, you notice, when the Buddha talks about a stream winner, one of the beautiful description of a stream winner is that he is aparapacaya, independent of others. The stream winner is independent of others. He is emotionally independent. In other words, the stream winner doesn't depend on love from others. He is kind to others. So he doesn't need others to be promoting him and praising him, right? And he's happy by himself because the stream winner is at peace with himself. So aparapacaya, emotionally independent is another way of translating this term. Okay. Now, in the first sutta, Satta Jaṭila Sutta, is from the Samyutta Nikaya, where the Buddha focuses on teachings for the monks. Now, in the second sutta, which is called Ṭhāna Sutta, this is SD 14.12. The fours, Chatuka means sets of four, tetrads, discourse on condition. Ṭhāna translated as condition. Now, this word Ṭhāna is very interesting. From this word, you get the Malay word tanah, meaning ground. So same meaning. But Ṭhāna has got, in Pali, has got many other senses. So one condition here is conditions. In Thai, the word Ṭhāna becomes Than. It also means like a tray, something that supports gifts to be given to the monks. Okay, this is from Anguttara 4.192. Anguttara, as you know, teachings especially for the lay people, all right? So the theme here is how to truly know a person's character. Right, so in this sutta, you see the 4 conditions described in more detail. Okay, let's go down to the translation. Right, here you are. Ṭhāna Sutta, the 4th discourse on conditions. A 4.192, the 4 ways of truly knowing a person. So now the Buddha is addressing the monks, bhikshus, monks. From these 4 conditions, 4 other conditions can be known, right? So from 4 conditions, you can know 4 more. What are these 4? 1, bhikshus, it is through living together with another that his moral virtue is known, right? So the first quality is living together, second quality, parallel quality is moral virtue, okay? So the first 4 is underlined and the other 4 is in bold. Even that is after a long time, not after a short time. By one who is attentive, not by one who is inattentive. By the wise, not a dullard, okay? So you need to focus, you need to watch and know what to watch. The problem for all of us is we are looking at the teacher all the time, see, but we only see the outside. We don't see what's going on inside. Number 2, bhikshus, through dealing with another, that his honesty is to be known. Even then, after a long time, you must be attentive and you must be wise. Number 3, bhikshus, it is through adversities that another's fortitude or emotional strength, dhamma, is to be known. Okay? So even that, after a long time, you must be attentive, you must be wise. So this is when you go through a lot of difficulties and troubles, you begin to know the strength of the other person. Number 4, it is through discussing with another that his wisdom, panya, is to be known. And even then, after a long time, you must be attentive, you must be wise. So that is the thesis. All right, then the Buddha goes on to explain each in some detail. You can see a heading there, through living with a person, his virtue is known. Section 2 now. No? Then brackets 1. The brackets 1, it means the first item of the 4 ways of knowing a person. Bhikshus, it is through living together with someone that his moral virtue is to be known. Even that after a long time, not after a short time, by one who is attentive, not by one who is inattentive, by the wise, not a dullard. This too is said. In what connection is this said, right? So notice here, the Buddha goes through everything very slowly. The sutta style is such to make sure that the audience is listening. All these are cues. It is, this very kind of listening tradition here. Now you have 2 parts, 2A, 2B. 2A is the unvirtuous, the immoral person, okay? And 2B is the moral person. So here the Buddha says, here bhikshus, a person living with another knows thus, for a long time indeed, this venerable one, this is a respectful term for this bad person, okay? This venerable one is one whose deed is tattered, torn, uncompleted, whose deed is rent. Rent also means torn, okay? Now tattered means like, it is messed up. Rent is more like torn straight through. So these 2 are figures of using the cloth imagery, a cloth that is tattered, a cloth that is rent, torn, straight through, whose deed is mottled or defective, The one in brackets explains the meaning. Blotchy, whose deed is inconsistent. So mortal, blotchy. This refers to how a cow looks like, the colors on the cow. Mottled patches here, and then blotchy, a bit of patch here, a bit of patch there. Whereas a pure white cow is regarded as very special, right? So here, this second pair of imagery comes from the idea of what is a valuable cow. Whose deed is inconsistent. Who is inconsistent in moral virtue, right? So you observe, see, these are qualities we can notice. This venerable one is immoral. This venerable one is not morally virtuous. Okay, so this is what we watch out for. Then the Buddha explains, what does this mean? Right? And let me just quickly explain it to you. Okay, so here, what the word tattered here refers to. Tattered means torn all around the cloth. So this is like someone like a monk who doesn't keep to the rules, to the Vinaya rules, right? Especially the big rules. Yeah? And then the cloth is rent, torn right through. It's like he's also not keeping to the middle kinds of rules, the second kind, like the Sanghadisesa, for example. Okay. And he will commit 2 or 3 offenses, one after the other. Then his conduct is said to be mortal, right? He keeps on breaking the precepts. And then he does it again and again, right? Then it's said to be blotchy. So these are all kind of the Buddha is telling that's how to watch out for. These monks keep breaking the rules. So you know this, you notice this, so you know something's wrong here, right? On the other hand, 2b, there is the morally virtuous. Okay, the next section, further down, yeah. The morally virtuous, the one who is good. But here, bhikshus, a person living with another knows thus. For a long time, indeed, this venerable one is one whose deed is untettered. In other words, he completes his task, and whose deed is not rent, he is without fault. His deed is unmortal, he has no defect, doesn't break the Vinaya rules. Whose deed is not blotchy, in other words, he's a regular, he keeps to the Vinaya in a regular way. Then whose deed is consistent. In other words, you can know he's behaving well, and who is consistent in moral virtue. This venerable one is morally virtuous, this venerable one is not immoral. Okay, so this one we keep looking for a long time. Okay, now in my 50 years of knowing Buddhism, I got all kinds of feedback. I myself watch, and even now I get feedback from people. For example, you find some of these monks who go for scholarly studies. They go for MA, for PhD, and of all places, instead of studying in their own country, Sri Lanka, where there's so many universities, they go to Japan. They even go to the Philippines, of course, the US. Why do they go to such places? Of course, you might say it's prestigious, but once they do this, they mix with the lay people. So that's what they want, that so-called freedom. But then what they don't notice, what they don't know is people are watching them all the time. Because when you wear a robe, people look up to the Dharma. They say, wow, this is a monk, maybe I can learn something from him. But then these monks, they don't keep to the rules. So I get someone who's a Westerner, not the local Asian. They say, oh, I know this monk, he's studying in this university and he doesn't keep to the rules, he dresses like a layman and he takes food whenever he likes and so on. So, and he uses money and he goes out at night, things like that. So you begin to wonder, why do they want all these titles, And recently I put up this post on my Facebook. I said this, When the monk uses the title Venerable Doctor, all these big titles, is it because they have no faith in their robes? Is it because they feel that just being called a monk is not big enough, things like that? Now, I'm saying this not to insult them, rather to make you think that you should not judge a monk by the titles. And also a message to the monks that we know what your thinking is. So you don't have to behave like this. And I also have monks, I know, young monks who are studying and are helping them with the suttas. And they tell me, say, yeah, you're right, because I'm studying because I want to learn. I don't think I will be using all this. I don't want to use all these titles when I finish. It's just for my knowledge, for my understanding. I'll just be a monk, and maybe I want to go back to Myanmar, to the forest, to do some meditation, things like that. So when we begin to talk like this, then all these monks also, they begin to see what really is the right way, that lay people are not easily cheated, that lay people want quality Buddhism. We want the Buddhism we deserve, the good kind of Buddhism. Right? So this, I'm talking about quality control, in other words. Okay, so that's the meaning here. No? All right, let's look at the next one. So through dealing with a person, his honesty is known, because it is through dealing with another that his honesty is to be known. Even that is after a long time, not after a short time. Then you must be attentive, you must be wise. Okay, so in what connection is this said? What does this mean? Okay, so now again you have two sections, 3a, 3b. The dishonest. Here Bhikshus, a person through dealing with another knows this. Indeed, this vulnerable one behaves in a certain way towards one. He behaves in a different way towards two, yet again differently towards three, yet again differently with many. His earlier conduct differs from his later conduct. This venerable one is impure, not transparent in his conduct. This venerable one is not of pure conduct. So here is where you watch or listen over a long period of time. You find when this monk is talking with someone, he is being very nice, very personal, but when he's talking with two, he behaves differently. And then when he has a bigger group, when he has a crowd, again, you find his behavior is different, right? So he says very nice things to the crowd, right? You may say, for example, oh, anytime you need help, come to me. But then when someone comes along and say, needs help, say, oh, they come up with all kinds of stories, say, oh, we have a lot of problems now, and so on. So you begin to notice there are discrepancies in his behavior. He's not a man of his word, in other words. So by watching, you can see all this. Okay. In my life also, I've noticed a lot of this kind of behavior. See, there was one very embarrassing situation. I remember I was talking with this well-known foreign monk, very nice chat. We were very good friends, and suddenly this high-ranking woman comes along, and you can see the fear in his face. He just stops talking. Our conversation is cut short like that, and he stands up. I mean, you can see a monk standing up, and almost like showing fear in the other person. So, wow, that vision terrified me. I said, wow, what's going on here? Why is this monk fearing this woman so much? So these are things that make me wonder: is something going on, something wrong? See? So you begin to have doubts about such behavior, and we don't want to have such doubts. So we got to somehow get the message, reach them slowly, and then make them think, make them correct their behavior on both sides. When we keep quiet, it's because the good people keep quiet that the bad people start doing lots of bad things. In one sutta, it is said, when the king is weak or there's no king, then the robbers will run havoc throughout the country. But then when there's a king, it's like the lion roars, and all the animals in the forest, they cover, they run to their safe places and hide. right? So the voice of the Dhamma must be heard, basically. What we want is quality teaching here. That's the meaning here. The Buddha is talking about right conduct of the monks, right conduct of the lay people, right? So now then 3B is the honest person. Here, bhikshu is a person through dealing with another knows thus. Indeed, this venerable one behaves in a certain way towards one. He behaves in the same way towards two. So too with three. So too with many. His earlier conduct differs not with his later conduct, right? So when he talks alone, talks with a crowd, he's consistent. He talks as a monk. He talks about renunciation, talks about inner peace. This venerable one is pure, transparent in his conduct. This venerable one is not of impure conduct. So these are really, the Buddha is a very keen, very sharp observer of people. He notices people and he's teaching us how to use this skill. All right, let's go on now. So here again, the Buddha is saying, to know a person's honesty, you must watch long time, attentive, and you must be wise, okay? Now the next one, it's a third observation. Through adversities, a person's fortitude is known. When there are difficulties and trouble, we know a person's strength. Bhikshus, it is through adversities that one's fortitude or emotional strength is to be known. After a long time, we must be attentive, we must be wise. And what does this mean? In what connection is this said? So here again, you have two sections, 4A, 4B. First, there is the weak person. 4.2. Here, bhikshus, a certain person, when touched by the loss of relatives, or by the loss of wealth, or by the loss of through illness, does not reflect thus. Such is the nature of life. Such is the state of being a person, or obtaining personhood. In other words, when we are, this is what happens to people. Like in Malay, locally we say jadi orang, right? That's the way it is, okay? And that comes from the Pali, very interesting. Such is the state of being a person. These 8 worldly conditions keep the world turning. Or we can translate as, the world turns on these 8 worldly conditions. The world turns on this, namely, gain and loss. When you gain something, you may lose it also. Or you gain and then you lose. Fame and ill fame. People like you, they say nice thing to you, and then later on, they talk bad about you. The very people who say nice things to you may say bad things about you in time. Praise and blame, right? Don't get caught up with praise and then, feel bad about blame. That's the way people are. When they're happy, they might praise you. When they don't like it, they're not happy for their own reason, they might blame you because you happen to be there. Where there's joy, there's pain, joy and pain, right? So notice these are called the 8 winds, right? Because they blow back and forth. Gain and loss, they go together. Where there's gain, there's loss. Fame and ill fame. Sometimes we say fame and obscurity. Praise and blame, they go together. Joy and pain, they go together, right? So next time you're very happy, you say, okay, this is good, I'm happy. Let me be calm, because when this happiness is gone, let me not feel the pain, And when there is pain, you say, well, this pain is temporary. It will go away. So it goes back and forth. So this is the real situation, reality check. 4.3. When touched by the loss of relatives, or by the loss of wealth, or by the loss through illness, he is grieved or distressed, laments and beats his breast and falls into confusion. Right? So this person doesn't see reality. He's easily upset. Doesn't understand what's going on really. And this is where I'm very happy, because some of my Dhamma friends are really wonderful people, right? I remember there was a time long ago, during the Lehman Brothers disaster, financial disaster. I remember a lot of people lost their jobs. It's not as bad as COVID, but for those people who lost the money, lost their investment, it's really bad. I have my friend who tells me, he comes to me and says, I'm happy to have learned Dharma. I only lost my money. I didn't lose my sanity. I said, Sadhu, this is so wonderful to hear that, right? So people know reality. These are the really wonderful people that we feel happy with. We feel honored to be friends with. Right, so this is the strong person, the 4B. We come to the second part now, 4.4. But here, bhikshus, a certain person, when touched by the loss of relatives, by the loss of wealth, or by the loss through illness, reflects this. Such is the nature of life. Such is the state of being a person. These 8 conditions turn with the world, and the world turns with these 8 conditions, namely gain and loss, fame and ill fame, praise and blame, joy and pain. So these are the back and forth of life. That's the way life is. It comes with a package, right? Okay, let's go further down. So 4.5, when touched by the loss of relatives, by the loss of wealth, or by the loss through illness, he is neither grieved nor distressed, neither laments nor beats his breast, and does not fall into confusion. Which shows it is through adversities that one's fortitude or emotional strength is to be known, right? So, and even this, after a long time, you must be attentive, you must be wise. So this is the meaning, right, of knowing a person through adversities. And now the last one, through discussion, right? 5. This is the 4th way of knowing a person. Which shows it is through discussing with another that his wisdom is to be known. And even that, after a long time, not a short time, by one who's attentive, not by one inattentive, by the wise, not a dullard. This too is said. In what connection is this said? Okay, now we have 2 sections again, 5a, 5b. 5a is the foolish. 5.2. Here, bhikshus, through discussion with another, one knows thus. From this venerable one's approach to this problem or manner of examining the question, defining this problem or formulating of this question, and discussion of this problem or this question, this venerable one is unwise. This venerable one is not wise, right? So here, notice, approach the problem, how he examines it, and then define the problem, study the problem, and then define it, and then deal with it, discuss it. He does not do it properly, doesn't know how to do it. It's all confused, jumbled up. What is the reason for this? This venerable one does not utter words that are profound, calming, sublime, beyond thinking, or inaccessible to thought, subtle, intelligible to the wise. Okay, this is what's called a stock phrase on right speech. That what this person does not say anything profound, in other words, not deep.
Yes, yes.
All right, so profound is something very deep, very inspiring, okay? And then calming, that means you listen, you feel soothed, you feel peaceful. Sublime, it makes you think. It's kind of deep, but it makes you think. It is very inspiring. Beyond thinking, some things we hear, it makes us feel happy. And you can't just think about this. You have to feel it, and you feel good when you feel it. Subtle, that means it's very kind of, it's the way you look at it, and especially for you, and you feel connected with it. And you must have some level of intelligence to understand all this. This is one of the things that worry me a lot about our local Asians, Malaysians, Singaporeans especially. Whenever I mention sutta, they say, oh, very, very deep, very cheap, Now, if we go on like that, we will always be unwise. We will not be clever, to put it very simply. And I have many Western students who tell me, oh, please send me this sutta, very interesting. I love reading this sutta. It's so challenging, And they want the very difficult suttas, So this is something we need to learn. I mean, you start reading, you start from the small sutta, you go into the longer suttas. Don't be afraid to read, basically. We cannot be lazy to read. Right? Then we always be the servants, we always be down there, right? So we have to have some dignity through learning, curiosity through learning, and Buddhism is about learning. Okay. All right. Now we look at the wise person. A bit further down, a bit more. Right. So okay, just a bit more. There's a bit of parable here. So wait, hold on, down a bit. Ah, yes. And when this venerable one speaks of the Dharma, he is unable to say, teach, proclaim, establish, reveal, analyze, clarify its meaning, briefly or in detail. Okay, in the second line, you have a series of verbs: teach, proclaim, establish, reveal, analyze, clarify. Right here, you have like 5 or 6 words explaining how the Dharma is taught. So teach is the general term. Proclaim is to basically announce to the audience in a way they have not heard before, right? So make an effort to introduce the Dharma. Establish means to make sure people get an understanding of it, that they keep in touch, they want to study the Dharma on their own. Reveal, to show them things which are new, where to look, right? How to study sutta. And then analyze, then start going deeper, look at the different parts, connect them together, okay, analyze. And then clarify, explain the meaning, how they can live it in their daily life, and so on. So these are different words showing how to study the Dharma, how to practice it. So, and we're talking about the meaning here, given very brief and given in detail. Both are important, right? So, but this person does not know how to do all this. This person is not very wise, right? Then there's a parable here, right? So this is important. So the Buddha gives a parable, the parable of the small fish. Just as if, bhikshus, a man with eyes standing on the bank of a pool of water were to see a small fish emerging, moving underwater but coming up a bit, he would think, from the emergence, underwater movement of this fish, and from the size of the ripple it makes from its speed, this is a small fish, this is not a big fish, right? So this is where someone with a sharp eyes just look at the water. Well, of course, this is probably muddy water, so you can't see the fish, but you can see the ripples, right? So some people, I have a friend who can do that very well. He's got very sharp eyes. You say, oh, that's a small fish, right? In the same way, bhikshus, through discussing with another, one knows thus, right? From this venerable one's approach to the problem, manner of examining the problem, defining the problem, formulating the question. And from discussing the question, this venerable one is unwise. This venerable one is not wise, right? And what's the reason for this? So everything is repeated here, okay? So his words are not profound, not coming, not sublime, and so on, okay? Everything is given the same thing repeated. So this is the negative side. Now it comes to the positive side, the wise. Here, bhikshus, through discussing with another, one knows thus. Okay, go further down. This is the wise person. From this venerable one's approach to the problem, he knows how to approach the problem, he knows how to examine it, he knows how to define the problem, how to formulate the right question. When you get the right question, you get the answer, right? So very often, it is asking the right questions that helps you to understand the whole situation. And then discuss the question. So this venerable one is wise. This venerable one is not unwise. What is the reason for this? This venerable one utters words that are profound, very deep, calming, it soothes us, it gives us comfort and confidence, sublime, very beautiful in the sense of its meaning and depth, examples, beyond thinking. This is something which comes from deep inside him, and it inspires you, makes you feel happy, subtle, you think for yourself, and intelligible to the wise. appeals to your intelligence. And when this Venerable One speaks of the Dharma, he's able to say, teach, proclaim, establish, reveal, analyze, clarify its meaning briefly and in detail. So you can talk of Dharma in short or in detail, depending on what our needs. This Venerable One is wise. This Venerable One is not unwise. And now we have the parable of the big fish. All right? So here the Buddha says, just as if pictures a man with eyes standing on the bank of a pool of water, but to see a big fish emerging. Now here the water is muddy, so you don't see the fish, but from the water, the movement of the water surface, he would think from the emergence of the underwater movement of this fish, from the size of the ripples it makes, from its speed, this is a big fish, not a small fish. Right? So this man's got very sharp eyes. He knows what kind of fish is in the muddy water. In the same way, bhikshus, through discussing with another, one knows from this Venerable One's approach to the problem, defining the problem, discussing the problem, we know this person is wise. Even then, this person also wise. That so this person speaks words that are profound, calming, sublime, beyond thinking, subtle, intelligible to the wise. And when the teacher of the Dharma is able to teach, proclaim, establish, reveal, analyze, clarify its meaning briefly or in detail. So this person is wise. Okay, further down. Yes. Right, so the Buddha says, right, even this, you need to take some time, you need to be attentive, and you must be wise yourself to notice this. So there you are. So these are the 4 conditions. From these 4 conditions, you get 4 other conditions that a person, whether he's wise, he's good, he's emotionally strong, he's honest, and so on. All right, so I hope you find this teaching useful. You have to reflect, look at the notes again. There are lots of notes in front, especially the first sutta. All right, so now I open the questions.
Thank you, Brother Piya, for explaining the sutta today. As usual, we will open the floor for Q&A. Please feel free to ask questions by raising your hand, or you can type in the chat box. I will now pass to Sister Aixip to take care of the Q&A. Sister Aixip, over to you.
Thank you, Sister Wendy. Good evening, brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Kindly type your questions in the chat box, or you may raise your hand to ask your questions now. Brother Piya, at the moment, there is no question in the chat box.
Okay. An easy sutta. You can ask general questions, by the way, even though not related to today's sutta, but questions that you have from previous studies and maybe related to your practice.
Oh, Sister Rachel.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, could you please unmute yourself, Sister Rachel?
Okay.
Yes, Rachel.
Okay, I'm just wondering, like, sometimes, like you were talking about blaming, sometimes someone is just upset, or they just want something to blame, and then if I happen to be there and then they blame me, I get very angry. What's the best way to deal with it? Because I get very angry, and then normally I attack them back, and I know that's not the best thing to do, obviously, but what's the best way? Because they are not willing to listen. They are just angry and they want to blame something. They are not Buddhist.
Be like a mirror to this person. In other words, say words that the person is thinking. I know it's easy to say this, but it's quite tricky when you, at that moment, you have to be very calm, and kind of calmly tell this person what he's really thinking. In other words, what you're saying is, I know what you're thinking.
I have tried that. If I tell them, I know why you're thinking that, then they get angry.
No, don't say that. No,
okay.
I'm telling you that. I'm only telling you that you know what they're thinking. Then you tell them, the way I see it, you're very upset about something. And I think you're blaming me because I'm here. Why don't you tell me what happened? That's one way. Reflective, non-judgmental. And you also, you make this person feel safe, that you're willing to listen, right? In other words, you're hinting, say, hey, look, I'm your friend. So if you go on like this, you will lose another friend. That's going to make things only worse. You know, you don't have to say that, you see, but that's the message. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, you notice sometimes when I write my replies in some of the reflections in my Facebook, I use the same method. I try to find out what people are thinking, and then make them think that way. How they help themselves by thinking what really is happening to me, and let me deal with this in a positive way. So you reflect really what's going on. Tell this person, as I told you, you know in your mind what's going on, but you don't tell that. You don't say those words, but you tell this person, I can see that you're not happy. Now, maybe you like to tell me why you're not happy, if you like, or at least don't blame me because it will not be helpful to you. All right, something like that. Of course,
I guess it's also very difficult. Like I have friends who work in call centers, and they find the job very, very stressful because people
very
like
true.
to take the anger on them.
Right.
And there's not much they can do.
Yeah, then you can say, wow, you know, yeah, things are really bad. I can see, you know, how difficult, how strongly you're trying to cope with this, something like that. Another way is keep distance, social distance. That's, you know, the safe way. Because when you can't deal with them, you got to keep away so that you don't get affected negatively by them.
Yeah.
Right? He's just,
difficult.
you know,
It's really
looking
hard,
around to find victims, you know.
Yeah,
so you got to be wise. It's social distancing also applies to people outside COVID. Okay.
Yeah, I think anyone working in a customer-facing job has this kind of problem. Yeah.
That's the thing about work. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that's a thoughtful question. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Next question. Any other questions?
Thank you, Brother Piya. Just now, Sister Ratna raised her hand. Sister Ratna, would you like to ask question?
Okay. Piya.
Yeah.
My question is for those people who just join our class, I appreciate that if you can explain what is an arahat or who is an arahat.
Oh, okay. Yes, I forget that. All right. Yeah. For those that are new, in Buddhism, we have the highest level of saints who are like the Buddha. We call them arahat, or in Chinese called lohan. Okay, arahan. The two words arahan, arahat is the same word. The word means worthy one. It refers to someone who has attained the highest level of awakening, just like the Buddha. In early Buddhism, the arahat's awakening and the Buddha's awakening are all the same. It's like people get out of prison and one is free, so you cannot compare who's more free than the other person. So the Buddha is an arahat, and these arahats who come after the Buddha, they're also awakened and liberated in the same way. Those are the highest kind of saints. And then you have what's called a non-returners. They have one more life to go, you know, and so on. So basically here, it's like we say, oh, someone is the Buddha, you know, but how do you know this person is a Buddha unless you're a Buddha yourself, right? Or for example, sometimes we say, oh, this guy he's a PhD person, but if you don't have a PhD, you don't really know, is it really a PhD or not, you see? So the point of these teachings today is that we need not point to status. The important thing is we work to attain that state ourselves, right? What's the point of saying someone is happy, but you yourself are not happy? So when we talk about happiness, you have to be happy yourself. And when you're happy, then you look at another person, you know how happy this person is. Of course, in the case of happiness, it's much easier. We don't have to be happy to know another person is happy. Or to be more correct, we have been happy before, then we know how happiness looks like. So that's the meaning here. All right. If you're still not sure, please, it's okay to ask beginners question. Okay, here we have a range of students from beginners to advanced. Okay, let's continue.
Thank you, Brother Piya, for the explanation. Brother Ang raised his hand. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, David, is it?
I'm Ananda, Brother Piya. Ananda.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thanks. I just saw in the message, actually, there's one message down there. I find that I would like to have your opinion. Somebody written it. I find it's very interesting. Irrespective of whether the monk is virtuous or roach, right? Roach monk, we respect the robe at first glance.
Yes. So you're thinking,
this,
okay, you have my opinion on that, is it?
Yeah, because this is a very common.
Oh, I mean, it's wonderful, you know. If you see the robe and then you feel good about it, that is your good karma. That is your purity of heart, things like that. This is definitely positive on your side. I am not doubting that, see. But what you do with that, beyond that, you have to be a bit more mindful and careful, you see. Because it is the good people who often get into trouble, and then sometimes the trouble is so bad that, you know, they give up and then you lose them. We don't want that, you see. That's my point. All right. So yes, we respect the robe, but we also want to know the person wearing the robe, that he's not misusing the respect which the robe represents, you see. Now, okay, let me tell you a very funny story here. This is actually a real story. After 50 years, I have many stories actually. So this is one of them, just instructive. You know, so someone told this monk just what you said, you see. So, you know, we respect the robe very much, you know, and so on. So this monk got very upset, you see. And, you know, he actually took off his outer robe and he threw it onto the chair and said, okay, go ahead, respect the robe. He actually told the lady, why don't you bow to the robe or the chair, you know? Luckily, he didn't, it was not me, see, because if it was me, I would actually do that, actually bow down to the robe. But this monk is angry, and this poor lady devotee was terrified that the monk should be angry. You know? So that's the second thing that shocked him, see? So this is the irony, see? So yeah, obviously the one who wears the robe is not worthy of the robe because he got angry, you see? So
I think it is a.
Yes.
I think I read it before. I think it is a Chinese Zen story actually. What happened was actually the prelude to the story was that the monk went to the monk. They were expecting a high-ranking monk, and he was wearing ordinary clothing and ordinary monk clothing. He was not actually allowed to go in because he was saying they're expected a highly respected monk. You see.
Okay.
And what he did was he.
What
he did was he went back and he changed his clothing. He changed his respective clothing, and he was welcomed with all those kind of ceremonial and all that. And that was make him, and that was actually make him. That actually, you know, that is the trigger point where he take off his robe and tell them, no, you know, it is the robe that you want. It's not me.
Oh, okay. No, I think you have combined two stories into one, but it's interesting. And whenever I hear the word Zen, my hair stand nowadays. So, but anyway, Buddhist story is bad enough, but you say Zen, wow, okay. Anyway,
of course.
No, don't worry. I've written something about that story also because it's very interesting. Because the first part of the story, I remember it is about Pindola Bharadwaja. Pindola. You see, it is said. Well, this is the Chinese version, all right. It seems that Pindola, he's still alive today, according to legend, you see. And he looks like a beggar, so a monk in rags. So when you see him, if you're not a really good Buddhist with really well-educated Buddhism, you will not recognize him. But if you see him and you're a really good Buddhist, you will know, wow, this is the monk with torn robes, you know, rag robes, and you will respect him. Of course, the Chinese like prosperity stories. So if this monk Pindola were to come to your temple will be prosperous. Okay, this is very, very Chinese, right? All right, so the story goes that this temple, they have this special dana to get Pindola to come, you see. So all the monks were invited. Hopefully Pindola will come, you see. So for a few days, all these big monks, fat monks, thin monks, mostly fat monks anyway, they come and they started eating. And then, but no Pindola. See, that special seat for Pindola at the head of the table is empty. And then they waited for a few days. Then finally, these organizers got all the monks together, the monks in that area, and said, looks like Pindola didn't come, you know. We try our best, we follow all the rules and the rituals. And then amongst them, one monk in ragged robes came forward, you know, and told the organizer, he said, you know, I've been trying to get into your temple, but nobody allowed me in because I was wearing ragged robes. So that was I think the story is more funny and instructive. You see? That's one about Pindola. Okay. So anyway, so respecting robes is a good thing. And the next thing is you got to apply these 4 teachings Buddha gave to find out what kind of monk is this. Because I can tell you, monks are very good actors. They are trained from the start to be very calm and to show devotees that exterior of calmness, because they have to make sure that devotees are calm, you see. And of course, some monks can be funny, you know, but then again, that is something else, right? So what I'm saying is, we should not just judge people by their looks. That's the point of the story. Even, especially a uniform, like a robe, you know, like some people love uniform, military uniform, and drives them crazy. So the robe is like that. So you have to be very careful. And the robe also is a sign of eligibility, by the way, right? Not married, okay, single. And in Thailand, it's a mark of respect, you know. That is why the young men, they have to go for at least a rains retreat ordination. That's not the first thing that the girl's parents will ask the man, have you gone for your temporary ordination? Have you gone for your ordination? So to go through this monkhood is a very dignified thing, very important. It's a training. And the young monks, when I was in Thailand, they told me, they say, if you are a young monk and you have not reached 40, chances are you may disrobe, all right? So the 40 is a crucial period. If you go beyond 40 years, you probably remain the rest of your life as a monk. So these are stories about the robe, okay? So remember, the robe is a symbol. Don't get caught up with merely the status. Find out the state, right? Not merely status, but also the state of the person, all right? Status and state, 2 different things, remember. Okay, let's go on. Any more questions?
Peter Piya?
Yes, sure.
Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, yeah? Because to me, when I personally, I find that the robe, actually, when we're talking about the robe, respecting the robe, are we referring to the banner of the Arahant? We're referring to the Aryan Sangha, right? Rather than the conventional Sangha.
Of course, yeah, I would agree if you say that. Because when we look at the robe, yeah, we are reflecting on the highest, on the Buddha, yes. On renunciation even. On the simple level, we reflect on renunciation. On the higher level, we reflect on Buddhahood, on the, like you said, the banner of the Arahat, the Arahata Dvaja. So yes, I would agree with that.
Why I bring it out? Because this is something very funny actually happened. But I'm not going to name the temple. I'm not going to name the monk, right? But it actually happened. It happened to us actually. There's one monk that used to come to our temple that we know. Then after that, he went back to Sri Lanka. When a resident monk was not in town, he came back. And the earlier time when he was there, actually, he taught us meditation. He came back and he did a meditation retreat for us. A group of us went for the meditation retreat, right? And he borrowed, and that monk did borrow some money from us, said that his mother having operation. That is beside the point. But eventually later, when a resident monk came back, we realized that, you know, not many of us know. Actually, I was told that actually the monk had already, when he went back to Sri Lanka the last time, he had already disrobed. And he came back to the temple. He saw our resident monk in the airport, and he came back to our temple in robes, where he was not officially ordained.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now the
That's
suttas call that kind of person a thief, a chora, a thief.
yes,
Yeah?
yes.
Yeah.
That's why I say
Okay.
that I'm very.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just comment a couple of things there. Number one is that a monk is not supposed to ask you for anything except water. Water is you can ask for. Other things they cannot ask from you. Definitely not money. I mean, something's wrong. A monk asks for money. That's a double-edged knife already. I mean, it's not supposed to use money. Although just because many monks use money doesn't mean it's right. It's just wrong. I mean, it's bad karma, you know. So this if you ask for money, obviously something's wrong, and we should not respond to that kind of request, right? And the next thing is whenever there's a new monk who comes along, you especially as the leader or someone in charge, you have the right, even a common layman, you have the right to ask the monk in a polite way, say, Venerable Sir, first, of course, you can ask the name if you like, but most important thing you can ask is, how many years have you been a monk? How many wasa are you? If the monk says he's less than 5, he should not be wandering around. He should be under tutelage with the teacher. He's not allowed to wander around during the first 5 years. And number two, you ask, who's your teacher? Who's your preceptor? Right? And which temple do you come from? Okay. Of course, you make a note of the temple. Sometimes it's not very famous, sometimes it's famous, and you may know where he's from. And where he's staying now. Say, for example, if he's in Singapore, by right, he should be staying with other temples, you know. So if he comes on his own, he's staying in a hotel, then he has money. Or he's staying with some lay people, then again, he's breaking the rules. So these are things we can ask according to Vinaya. See, this is
It's different. In this case, it's different because in his case,
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking generally. I don't want to talk on a very personal basis. Okay. I'm sorry about that.
Yes.
I just want.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Understand.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to the next question, please.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Piya.
Yeah.
There's a question from Sister Annie in the chat box. I believe just now Brother Piya already discussed is about the rope also.
Okay.
Okay, let me proceed to another next question from Sister Wong Yiling.
Okay.
Is it compulsory for monks to exhibit Stoic behavior?
Compulsory is an interesting word here. A monk should naturally be calm. Okay, should naturally be calm. He should not be dour. Dour, that means unsmiling, showing almost like anger, and we often fear them. You find a lot of monks like to smile nowadays. Very interesting. I call it the money smile, because it's quite unnecessary actually. Too big a smile. I mean, the Sutta and the Vinaya says just a gentle smile, and you just see a bit of the teeth. You know, like Buddha images. You know, there is this gentle smile. In other words, it reflects the mind of the monk, not just the facial features, tightening of muscles. The monk by nature is full of loving kindness, and so his face reflects it. All right, so that would be good. Okay, because nowadays you find lots of really money smiling monks and nuns. We wonder what is the reason for that. Okay, that is, I see there's this really bad competition in the religious market. Right, so on the other hand, we don't want monks and nuns to be too stoic and like looking very dour, almost angry-like look, right? So kind of in between. You see the Buddha statue, the face is always pleasant and peaceful, and that kind of face would be good. Okay, so this is a bit of how lay people can be happy by seeing a monk. Because we are supposed to feel happy seeing them, and be good if they keep up to their rules, keeping to the Vinaya, and because now the world is so connected, there's so many monks, so many kinds of Buddhism, that we have to be really wary. You know, we should not go into the simplistic view that, oh, once a person wears a robe, he's holy, and if I don't respect him, I'm creating bad karma. On the contrary, if you respect him, you are creating bad karma if you encourage him to continue doing bad things. If you give money to a monk, you also create bad karma both ways. The giver, receiver also creates the bad karma because you're not supposed to receive those money. There are ways of donating money to the temple, to the kapiya, and so on. There are things, and they cannot ask for you. They want this, they want that, you know, even a plane ticket, unless you invite, pawarana, very important concept to know. You have invited them and say, okay, whenever you're in Singapore, you can ask me for a ticket. That means your pawarana is limited by place. It's also limited by time. You say whenever you're in Singapore, for example. So there are rules like that we should know. And if you go to temple and you know the good monks, they will tell you these things. So it's good to know these things, basically. Another way is social distance. Keep away from them, do your practice. You will be all right. You will still, be able to learn Buddhism, go for the gathering, listen to the teachers. You don't have to follow the teacher, but follow the good teachings that he gives you. Okay? All right, so it's nearly time now. Okay, smile for this. We're very happy to have you here today, for you to especially gather to listen to the suttas. No? Okay, let us know once you have taken the video pictures.
I'm still waiting for people to turn on your video.
Yes, please turn on your video.
Come on, don't be shy.
Some people don't have camera setting. Huh?
Okay, get ready. Smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. All right. Smile. 1, 2, smile. Thank you. Okay, it's done. Thank you very much.
All right, that's good. So we can close now. Should we close?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank
Yes,
you.
please. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let us spend a quiet moment. I'm happy that there are a number of you who are new, have come here for the first time. Hopefully you find something inspiring and useful today. We also have recited the precepts. These are the basic rules we try to keep up as Buddhists. And we also did some meditation to calm our minds, to practice on our own. And we've listened to the suttas of Buddha's teaching. All these are wonderful, good things we have done. Remember this moment when you can't meditate. Remember you have done all these good things. This is reflection on moral virtue. And if you're happy when you reflect on this. And also this is a time to say in your mind, may I be well and happy, may I be safe in these difficult times. May my loved ones too be well and happy and be safe. Send your kind thoughts to others who are important to you, your teachers, your friends, your relatives, and family. Let them be well and happy wherever they are. Above all, let us show our gratitude to the three jewels, the Buddha, our teacher, and his teaching, the Dhamma, and the noble ones who have benefited and attained the states of awakening, the noble Sangha. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Brother Piya.
Thank you, Teacher Piya.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.